welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you're new. Today we are doing something that has been on my wish list for the last 6 or 7 months, and I am so excited. Many of you know that shortly before Christmas we added another frame TV to our home. This one was actually a Facebook Marketplace find, so we were super excited to get a really good deal on it. However, it came with a stock black frame. Now over in the living room we also have a frame TV. That one's a little bit larger, and we ended up purchasing the teak wood frame that it might be the beige, but one of the two, I'll link it down below, that we ended up purchasing at the same time and swapped out that stock black. I've been living with the black, not hating it. It actually matches our bed frame in our bedroom, but I really wanted to add more of an antique feel in this space. And looking online, the frame TV frames that are the antique gold and they're really chunky and just add a lot of character are so expensive. I mean, we are talking hundreds of dollars. I've seen some in the 500 plus range, which is just not gonna cut it. That is not in our budget. We're gonna do this ourselves. We are going to head over to Lowe's and we are going to make our very own custom frame for our frame TV. Now, if you don't have a frame TV, you may be thinking about exiting out of this video, but don't. I assure you that this can be something that you can do to any ordinary TV. It does not have to be a frame TV. There are so many different options with just a regular TV. You can add screensavers with photos. You can go to YouTube and choose some of their like ambiance videos that they have that run for hours and hours and still be able to enjoy that frame on your TV, whether it's a frame TV or not. So let's go ahead and head to the hardware store, and we are just gonna grab what we need, come back to the house, and get started on this project. I want this to look like a piece of art when we are all done, and I'm really excited to see if we can achieve that. We went to the hardware store with kind of a general idea of what we wanted this frame to look like, but honestly just needed to get in here and look at the wood. So we ended up going with a 1x4 as our base wood, and then settled on 2 different trim pieces that we are using kind of just as decorative accents that we're going to be putting on the face of our 1x4. So these have a little bit of character to them. They've got some curved detail, which I really liked. I didn't want to do anything too dramatic, but also wanted to still be able to add, you know, that character. So we were just kind of playing around with the placement here, trying to decide if these 2 trim pieces were going to look good together, and if so, which would be on the outside, which would be on the inside, and just, you know, trying to visualize what it could look like and making sure that we are heading home with the right pieces. You can do whatever you want here. Honestly, this is where you can get creative and really make this frame your own and personalize it to your preferences. Another item that we need for our frame are some rubber straps. These are going to go on the back of the frame, and they are going to secure the frame to our TV so that no amount of rowdy roughhousing, jumping, banging, whatever happens, whatever my kids do, will allow this frame to fall. And then we're grabbing these corner brackets and some extra washers. We just needed some. And then hopping over to the spray paint aisle, wanted to share this Magnolia Home spray paint. I had not seen it. It's a chalky finish, so someday we're gonna go back and grab a can of that to try, but right now we're using the Rust-Oleum in the champagne bronze color, and we grabbed 2 cans of that for today's project. So here we are back at home. We've got everything set up in the backyard, and Chad is cutting these 45-degree angles with his miter saw. Now, just a beginner tip, I suppose, would be to cut your first board and then lay it on top of your second board, which is going to be identical, and just trace it. And that way you save a little bit of time and brain power, and you just move a little bit quicker. You want to try to be as precise as you can with these 45-degree angles. Sometimes you may need to come back in and just shave the tiniest little bit off to have them meet each other just ever so perfectly. That way you have that nice 90-degree corner on each side of your frame. So once you've done that, it's time to go ahead and secure them and make sure that they are all connected. And we're going to be using those L brackets. Honestly, I don't know if that's what those are called, but that's what I'm going to call them because they're shaped like an L. And we need some screws. We're also going to use our nail gun and these brads, and just make sure that we get this nice, tight, and secure. So that's what you're going to see Chad doing here. Have a square tool, it is really helpful in making sure that you get those corners perfect as you are lining them up, but if you don't have one, that's okay, you can do it without. Now that we've got all of those 1x4s connected, we are coming in with this 1/2-inch piece of trim. This is going on the back of the frame. And the purpose of this is to cover up the side of your TV so that you're not seeing just a frame face, but this is actually framing all sides of the TV, so you need it to be thicker on the outside. So this is just going to kind of frame out the frame, if you will. We're adding some wood glue to that to get it in place, and then Chad's going to use his nail gun to add some nails in there and just make sure it's nice and secure. Now we're using some of the same trim piece. This is the 1/2-inch trim piece, and creating this little ledge, if you will, for our frame to sit on top of the corners of our frame TV. So this is the first way that we are kind of securing it to the TV. The second is going to actually take those black rubber straps and you're going to put those around the back of the TV. So no amount of jumping, shaking, anything is going to bring this frame off of the TV. Now we're moving on to the front of the frame, and we're adding the decorative trim that we grabbed from Lowe's. Chad is just cutting those angles, and he's going to secure these pieces with the wood glue, and then using the brad nailer to fully or permanently secure those to the 1x4. You want to make sure you have some good wood filler that you can cover up the seams where your corners meet, also where you have your nail holes. There's going to be several of these all around your frame. Any spot where you added a nail, you're gonna wanna go in just to really give it that polished look and add your wood filler and let that dry before you start painting. I wanted to take our frame just another step further and add a little more character. So I found these filigree pieces on Amazon and decided to put those in the corners of the trim pieces. And I really love that they added just a little vintage flair. So we're waiting to secure those until after our first coat of spray paint, but just wanted to kind of get a feel for where we wanted to put those. These are the smart straps. They are rubber straps that we're going to be using to secure to the back of our frame, and this is going to keep the frame on our TV and we won't have to worry about it falling down. Now, I want to preface by saying what you're going to see Chad doing here is not something that you want to do. We ended up coming in later and correcting this, but I want to explain why. So originally we thought that we would make them as flush as possible to our frame, so we'd put them to the side of the little 1/2 inch pieces that we put on the back of the frame. However, this placement is going to make it impossible for you to slide your frame onto your TV. The straps are just simply too far in. So I will show you in just a little bit where we ended up putting these, and the new placement is perfect and works great. So here we are coming in with champagne bronze. We ended up with 2 full coats of spray paint on the frame, and you only have to let it dry for about 30 minutes or so in between coats. We played around with the placement of the filigree for a little while and decided that putting each of these pieces on the inside of the decorative trim was what we liked best. It was just the look that we liked the best, but you can get creative with this and do whatever you like. So Chad is just using a really strong adhesive, and shockingly it works so well, even with kind of the placement of how we put these on there. We weren't really sure how well it was gonna stick, but doing this and then doing a coat of spray paint on top secured them perfectly, and they should stay on there for a very long time. We did end up getting kind of some bad weather, so we brought the frame inside, and I am using my European Gold Rub and Buff to just give the frame more of a worn look. I want to add some texture to it, let it be a little bit gritty and less metallic and glossy, and the Rub and Buff really does the trick. So originally I went in and only did the Rub and Buff on the filigree and the trim, the decorative trim pieces, and I left my 1x4 as it was and just wanted to see if that would add just some cool dimension. And ultimately I decided to just go back in and add the Rub and Buff to the entire frame, including that filigree. And I also came in with a paper towel. I used a rag at one point. You can really apply this with anything, which is the beauty of using this Rub and Buff, because it is just so user friendly, but it really adds that touch that just makes it look a little bit more vintage. So here's the placement of the straps and where we put them. You want them closer to the edges so that you're able to get it on your TV without, you know, scratching your TV or adding any damage to it. And this worked out perfectly. So there's one last step with our frame, one last thing we need to do. If you have a frame TV, or I assume any TV, you are going to need to add a little hole. This is a little bigger than I had wanted it to be, but Chad thought we needed to go this big. He is going to add some Rub and Buff, as you can see, just to make it look less noticeable. And honestly, if you don't know it's there, you really don't see it. But this is the hole that the sensor is, or essentially the frame was covering up the sensor for the remote, and the light sensor for the TV, it turns on and off with the light, or the frame does. So we just needed to have a hole there, and that hole, believe it or not, does the trick. It completely fixed the issue, and now the remote works from anywhere and the TV responds to light and dark, or day and night. The last finishing touch that we are adding to this space is this picture light. We have the same exact one in our living room. I think it comes in right around $35 to $40, and it is a really pretty color, not the exact same as what we have on the TV. And at first I was slightly nervous when we took it out of the box. However, it matches the hardware on our IKEA wardrobes perfectly. It's growing on me. I kind of like the difference in the golds. I think it stands out, it doesn't clash, and it looks so beautiful together. So this is our finished product. I hope that y'all enjoyed this video and that it inspired you to do a DIY project of your own. I want to end this video by sharing our all-in cost for this project and telling you if it was worth doing the DIY or just going ahead and buying new. So of course, some of the tools and even some of the smaller materials like the brad nails and those types of things we did already have. So keep that in mind, but the cost of all of the wood, the spray paint, the E6000, the filigree, and those things all came in right around $150. Now, this does not include our art light. If we did include that, we would be looking at a little closer to $200, but this video was about the DIY frame, so I wanted to share that cost with you. So of course, this was a huge savings, really didn't take that much time, and definitely was worth it. If you do end up making a frame TV frame, or just maybe a frame, let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, I'm just so thankful for each one of you, and I hope that you enjoyed this video.